Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Input English. It's early in the morning, a new day. Anybody hungry? Time for breakfast, right? Let's get started making breakfast. Okay, let's get started. Breakfast around the world has many names. It's the first meal of the day. Frühstück, desayuno, breakfast. In English, breakfast, we're breaking the fast. It's where the word comes from. We're breaking the fast. We've had nothing to eat since the day before, so we're breaking the fast. We're starting to eat again. Breakfast has evolved in English-speaking countries over a very long period of time, and there is no one breakfast. Today, we're going to create a typical American breakfast. It's very rich, it's full of protein and fat, it's very satisfying, and we'll discuss how it came about. Where did this come from? If you go to a restaurant, any place in the world, and order an American breakfast, you'll get something similar to this. You may have some options. You may be able to make some choices about, for instance, how the eggs are cooked. So breakfast has evolved with influence from outside, influence from marketing, influence from the need for convenience, influence from business. So what we're going to start with today is bacon. So bacon is a pork product. It's cured pork, and it's cut into strips, and the packaging is notoriously difficult to open. So before you joined us, I opened the package with a knife so as to not look really terrible on camera. So here is the bacon strips. Here are the bacon strips, and we need some heat, and they will start cooking. Bacon tends to spatter. So there are a couple of things we'll do. One is I will get a spatter screen so that if it spatters, it will be caught by the screen instead of on me. And then the other thing I'm going to do is put an apron on. So the apron doesn't prevent spattering, but it does catch it and keep it off our clothes somewhat. So the bacon is started. It's going to take a little while to cook, and while it's cooking, we can talk about the history of breakfast. Marketing is part of the scene here. Marketing is at work. It is still at work. And it was at work 100 years ago. 100 years ago, California producers of oranges had a surplus, and they had a problem, and they needed to figure out what to do with all these oranges they had produced. Should they cut back on production, or was there a way to increase consumer demand? So they went to a Chicago advertising firm, Lord and Thomas, and they came up with this plan to promote oranges as orange juice. Now the trouble with orange juice is it was difficult to produce, and so they invented a gadget for rendering the juice out of the orange, and that converted orange consumption from eating the fruit to drinking the juice, and it really became, over time, a big part of breakfast the world over. And when people think of a breakfast beverage, what do they think of? Well, they think of coffee, maybe tea, and orange juice. And this came from the influence of advertisers based in Chicago. So that's one of the things that we can have today is orange juice. Now I'm going to cut back on the heat. I don't want to burn the bacon. That's one way to ruin it. And I need to be able to flip it over. So breakfast has evolved in the US and the world over because of the need for convenience and efficiency. People were on their way to work. People were not wanting to spend a lot of time creating breakfast. And this developed in the industry in the US and in various countries around the world of places that produce breakfast food. In the US, the classic is the diner. A diner is a small restaurant that specializes in convenient, quick food. They frequently have a counter and seating, so you can sit on stools, and the waitress or waiter is behind the counter, and they come up to you and ask you what you want, and you place your order, and then the server turns to the cook and perhaps gives them a piece of paper with that written down, or just tells them. So these diners also frequently have booths where you can sit for people, 2 people in a booth with a table. And these are part of American culture and are still present today. The diners have kind of a funny language associated with them, and I'm not an expert on that, but one phrase comes to mind that I always found amusing is the waitress or the waiter might turn to the cook after taking your order and turn to the cook and say, Adam and Eve on a raft and wreck 'em. Now, Adam and Eve is a metaphor referring to the 2 eggs. And when she said, or he said, a raft, this is a piece of toast. So picture 2 eggs on a piece of toast. And wreck 'em means the egg should be scrambled. So how funny is that? It's a collection of metaphors, slang, and it goes way back. So our bacon is cooking. It's doing fine. Now maybe we should have some potato. Now, if I wanted a potato, I could cut up a potato. We're not going to do that today, but I could cut it up into chunks and maybe mix some onion with that and then fry it, maybe with some bacon grease or maybe with some butter, maybe with some oil, and fry it until it's nice and brown. Those would be called home fries. An alternative is to run the potato through a grater. This is a grater, and you could process it by hand through the grater and turn it into shredded potato. Put that in a frying pan with salt, pepper, some oil, some grease, some butter, and brown that, and that is called hash brown. So we could, and we might make some hash brown sometime, but today we're making bacon and eggs and toast. When people talk about bacon in a positive way, in a complimentary way, they refer to crispy bacon. You want your bacon to have a crunch to it, crisp. You don't want it burned, no. and you don't necessarily, some people might want it softer, but most people want their bacon crisp. So this will be crispy bacon. And when it's done, it will go onto the plate with a paper towel to absorb some of the excess grease to get that out of the way. And then we need eggs. Now, if I was a good cook, perhaps in a restaurant, and I was very efficient, and I was working at a diner, for instance, being paid, then I would be referred to as a short order cook. And a short order cook makes things that are grilled, fried, simple foods that are made in diners. And a good short order cook is very efficient, so the food comes out all at one time. You don't want to get your toast 20 minutes after you get your eggs. That's not desirable in a restaurant. So we are now done with the bacon. It is crispy. So I'm taking the bacon out. Okay, so now it's time to make the eggs. The bacon is done. The eggs are the next part of this project. And so here are some eggs. I'm going to start the heat on this nonstick frying pan. These are fresh eggs, and I will select 2. And the plan is to make these over medium. So we'll cook them on one side and flip them over. Ideally, you do so without breaking the yolk. You cook the yolk until it is still a little liquid, but not raw. Like so many things, you don't want too much, you don't want not enough. You're trying to get that in between just right. You remember there was a children's story about the 3 bears, and frequently as Goldilocks encountered something with respect to the bears, something was too hard, something was too soft, but something was just right. So that's part of life. You don't want to overcook the food. You don't want to undercook the food. You want to get it just the way you want it. So this is heating up. Now we will break the eggs and see if I can do this without breaking the yolk. Success. So we have 2 eggs that are being cooked in a frying pan. We don't want a lot of heat that will burn it before it's cooked all the way through. So I've cut back on the amount of heat I'm applying. Now the moment of truth to see if I can turn these over without destroying the yolk. And you can see that that has been accomplished. So now we just let them cook a little bit more so that the yolk is done, and then we can serve the meal. We need toast. So with this cooking, that's done. It's time for the toast. And we need a plate. Now you can see that I'm not a good short order cook because the bacon is done, the eggs are done, and the toast is cooking. So if you go to a diner and you order your breakfast and the service person, the waiter, waitress, brings you your plate, it's pretty common to get the main plate with the bacon or the sausage or the eggs, but the toast is pending. The toast is being prepared and it'll come later. So if I was a good short order cook, it would have all come out at the same time. But I'm not a good short order cook. I'm just making breakfast here. And so I've got bacon, eggs, and the toast will be here in a minute. So this is breakfast. This is one of the many standard American breakfast options. What else could you have? Well, you could have breakfast sausage instead of or in addition to the bacon. You could have ham, that's less common, but readily available. Canadian bacon was very popular and still is. And Canadian bacon is a ham product that is grilled, comports very well with standard American breakfast. Hash browns we talked about, pancakes, and waffles. So we're not making pancakes or waffles today, but those are all part of the standard American breakfast. If you go to a diner or a restaurant and you order breakfast, particularly in the East Coast or the Midwest, this is likely to be featured prominently on the menu. Frequently there are breakfast specials where if you get 2 pieces of bacon and 2 eggs and 2 pieces of toast, you get all that as a reduced price, a package deal where they have a breakfast special. You say, I'll have this special. So here we have the toast, and it is having butter applied to it. What else could you put on your toast? Well, anything you want. People put preserves, sugary things like jelly or jam or preserves. These are things that come in jars. For instance, this is a nectarine plum conserve. This is a garnish that you could put on your toast. This is an option, and they're usually very sweet, a lot of sugar, but the terms that we use for things that we put on the toast in addition to the butter would be jelly, jam, or preserves. This conserve is an unusual name. So that's it. We have now made breakfast. This is one of many options, not my favorite, but this is an option for breakfast that people order in restaurants, diners, and people prepare in their home. So in another video, we will talk about other breakfast options. And I will also tell you what I would prefer to eat compared to this. I invite you to leave comments in the comments section. What questions or concerns do you have about breakfast? I'm not trying to teach you how to cook breakfast. I'm trying to use the language of the day-to-day so that you can understand what I'm talking about, so that you can grasp the English descriptions of this process. Because you know about food, people eat food every day. People are near kitchens and food preparation every day. And so by seeing this unfold with the description, it makes it easier to understand. So that's what we're up to in these cooking episodes. I'm not trying to teach you how to cook. I'm providing comprehensible input so that you can see what I'm doing, understand the words better, and build your English listening comprehension and your speaking ability. So that's it for today. Hope to see you in the next episode.